Good morning, Delaware. What a beautiful mid to late September morning. You get just a little touch of fall in the air. It feels great. How you doing, Nicole?
I am 100% here for fall today.
Yes.
I have my fall color palette on, and my coffee could not be more fall. It is.
Don't tell me it's pumpkin spice.
No. Wait for this. It's a pumpkin spice coffee, like the beans,
okay,
with a pumpkin spice creamer, and then I add a little bit of pumpkin spice sugar-free seasoning flavoring, just because, why not?
Right.
I love pumpkin spice. What are you talking about, George? I love pumpkin spice.
I love pumpkin spice and pumpkin pie, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it? Oh.
That's it, right.
I mean, I'm not going to be the person who goes out and buys the pumpkin spice Oreos. Those are just gross.
Yeah,
but
what? Oh.
No.
Come on.
No.
Those are amazing.
I'm
an Oreo nut here. Come on.
Right. We were getting all the different flavors for a while there.
Yes. There's a muffler shop in my neighborhood that puts a pumpkin spice brake line.
Yes.
So, yeah. So we've carried this just a little too far. Our guests today, let's get away from the pumpkin spice.
Sure.
Are Claire Decker and Allison Chakroff from SourcePoint. We're great. Welcome you both to the show. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having us. How are you guys this morning?
A little crazy, but, about normal. So it's great to have you here, Claire. Thanks for being here. So, Nicole, you did a conference this week.
I did. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I know. Wild.
It was a virtual conference, and it was just really, really amazing. It was a library advocacy and funding conference. It was put on by Every Library, which is a national PAC, political action committee. Thank you. And they are their primary goal is to raise funds and then do pro bono work or very low fees work for libraries who are on the ballot. And they just have an amazing mission. I've met John Kraska.
Yes.
Is that close?
Kraska. Yeah.
Kraska.
I know him. We worked together at the American Library Association many years ago.
Oh my gosh. He's like the leader behind it. He is a phenomenal person. Just many other people in that organization who put together LaughCon, which I was at Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so what I wanted to talk about today was one session that the entire world could benefit from at this point, maybe more specifically America. But the session was called, I just scrolled down, Ambassadors of Truth, How Librarians Can Help Save Our Democracy this November. And it was put on by Nora Benavidez, who is the director of PEN America's U.S. Free Expression Program. If you haven't heard of PEN America, which I hadn't before this is a group of writers. It was founded after World War I, basically by writers and for writers, because they were realizing that right after World War I, words were being manipulated for propaganda and for misinformation, and writers were incensed that people would use words for such malicious intent, and so they wanted to preserve the word. And so PEN America was formed to celebrate literary excellence and defend against threats to free speech and expression. So very, very great mission that they have going on. What the whole session was about was misinformation and disinformation and how it begins, how we buy into it, how it's spread. There's this whole idea that the illusory truth effect, it's a phenomenon of the more that we encounter something, the more likely we are to believe it to be true. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It just means the frequency with which you see it makes you think it's true. And that's hard whenever things are presented as truths, especially with the intent to not be true. And of course, then there's also, you add to it, confirmation bias, which is if we believe it's true, then it is true. And so add those two things together, and you've just got this masterwork of disinformation. And so what she was talking about was how that is coming into election season and why that comes into election season. And one of the things that she was talking about is that there are false claims that are out there that we're even already seeing, and we've still got 2 months to go. And so one of the things that she was talking about is where can you go to figure out if these false claims are true or not? And it's
the library.
The library, right? So I want to talk about, just for a second, a couple of the false claims that she said they're already seeing. Okay. One of the things that they are already seeing is that mail-in ballots are color-coded to out a voter's party affiliation so they can be more easily thrown away. And that, of course, is false because that would be 100% voter suppression. But so where can you go? What does this mean? Why did this come about? You can call your local Board of Elections office and you can say, are your ballots color coded? And they might say yes. And maybe that's because they're getting 50,000 pieces of mail a week and they want to be able to separate the things that are really important from the things that are less so important. And so there might be color coding, but you can go to the source. We can say, or you can come to the library and we'll call them for you. We'll say, hey, Jenny, hey, Corey, what's going on? Help us out. Another thing is that you can get COVID-19 at a mailbox if and when you mail your ballot. Of course, that's not true. Of course, we would like you to take precautions and be safe and, wear your masks and social distance. But it's not like if you take your ballot to a mailbox and you touch the mailbox, you're going to get COVID. You can check with the CDC and you can check with the World Health Organization on those sorts of things. Again, go to the original source, ask questions, don't just blindly trust it. Another question, Spanish language voters cannot bring a translator into the ballot box. Totally false. That's not true. You can look it up on the Ohio Secretary of State website. There are many exceptions for people who can bring assistance into the ballot box with them, including those who are non-native English speakers and including those who might need an aid in some other form or fashion. So absolutely, that is a source that you can look up, again, through the library or the Ohio Secretary of State. And then the final thing that is just, it makes me sad, that this organization has already seen and is already tracking that Democrats and Republicans vote on different days. And of course, that would be someone might say, this party who I don't want to have your vote on Wednesday. That's your election day. This party who I do want to vote on Tuesday. That's your election day. Of course, that's false. The election day is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. So, and that's for everyone. Parties don't vote on different days. And again, you can check that on the Ohio Secretary of State or your local library. So I just thought that this conference was fascinating, and I just was like, I have to get this information out to the world.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you did. And yes, we do want to help, and we've been doing a lot with voter registration, absentee ballot applications, that sort of thing. So our whole goal is to make, as it should be for every American, to make this a free and fair election. So, all right, Claire, I've been told that you have a book that you'd like to talk about.
I do. I actually have multiple things going on, which is not normal for me. I usually have to sit down and read a book, start to finish. I'm kind of that person. And I usually don't read word for word cookbooks, but the one that I brought today is a cookbook. It's called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nosrat. And it is a New York Times bestseller. And it's really neat because the first half of the book is written, in paragraphs. It's not recipes yet. And it's talking all about how to use these 4 kind of main factors of cooking to improve the way that you cook. And it's called, it says Mastering the Elements of Good Cooking. So what she talks about is when to salt, which kinds of things, how long before you cook the meat should you salt it, all these things that are kind of the tips and tricks of being a really great chef. And kind of the outcome of the book is supposed to be that you don't have to have a recipe, that you kind of learn your way around a kitchen and around those things to be able to make those decisions kind of by gut, I guess. And
I would never know how to do that.
Associated Netflix 4-part series that each of those Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat has. It's about an hour long, and she goes to a different part of the world, and it is just absolutely fabulous. So that's been a really fun kind of COVID exercise for me.
That's so cool.
That sounds great.
And it has the Netflix tie-in too. How neat.
That's great.
Yeah. It's really, really, really fun. And then the second half of the book is all of the recipes
that you don't need.
Yeah, even though you don't need them.
Right. Yeah. Even though you shouldn't need it. Yeah, I guess. And she also mentions them from a page to a page. So she's like, this thing about salt, try that in this recipe. So you can learn and taste, and then
cool.
What you're looking for. Yeah. So super neat. And then otherwise, I really like to listen to audiobooks. So I use the Libby app all the time. And I just finished a book called The Power.
Oh, yes.
Naomi Alderman.
Yeah. The book club that I just recently joined discussed that, and they had all wonderful things to say about it.
Yes, it's very lovely. So those are kind of my 2 pieces right now. I kind of have an audiobook always running, and then I'm reading a cookbook, which is abnormal for me. It's been really neat.
Well, thanks, Claire. That sounds great. I actually read this week the book from the author who the Friends of the Library are bringing in for a program on October 7th. This is Fiona Davis, and I read her newest book, which is a New York Times and a Good Morning America book club pick. It's called The Lions of Fifth Avenue. It was published in August. Fiona Davis sets her historical novels in iconic New York City buildings. And this one is set in, of course, the flagship of the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue. And the lions refer to the two lions out in front of the library. And so this one interweaves two stories about thefts of rare books from the library's collection. In 1913, Laura Lyons lives with her husband Jack and her two children, Harry and Pearl, in an apartment in the newly constructed Fifth Avenue Library. This, incidentally, is historically accurate. There was an apartment built in there for the superintendent, who was kind of basically the facilities manager for the whole building. And I just kind of wonder if Julie Miller would want to Fern Craig to move into our. I doubt it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But anyway, Laura's kind of restless in her life, in her domestic life. She's gone to Vassar, but now she's basically doing kind of an early 20th century housewife life. And she wants to go to Columbia University to get a master's degree in journalism. And so a series of thefts from the very rare books collection, including one of the few surviving copies of Edgar Allan Poe's first book, Tamerlane, turn up missing. And so Laura's plans may get upended because of that. The second theme in the book is concerns Sadie Donovan, who is a librarian working in the Rare Book Library in 1993. So it's 80 years later. When her boss quits without warning, Sadie suddenly finds herself responsible for doing this really important exhibition of treasures from the Rare Book collection. But just as suddenly, the things that she wants to put in the collection start disappearing. And so she's, of course, a suspect. Her immediate boss is a suspect, the one who just disappeared. And so she has to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on. But she's keeping a very dark secret that she's actually the granddaughter of the people who lived in that apartment.
Of the lions.
Yes, of the lions who lived in and were also suspects in the original Rare Book theft 80 years earlier. So Davis writes with a really nice light touch, and she does her homework. She makes both the worlds of 1913 and 1993 New York City come alive. She describes with equal clarity the feminist heterodoxy club that Laura joins in 1913, and the notorious punk rock club CBGB, where Sadie hangs out to shed her dowdy librarian image. I'm really looking forward to interviewing her. I've got lots of questions I want to ask her, and she's going to be on this show 2 weeks from today, so make sure you tune in for that, and make sure you get your tickets for the Friends of the Library presentation, which will be on Wednesday, October 7th at 7 o'clock by Zoom. So it's all very safe. The tickets are available on their website and also through Eventbrite. So I hope you're going to be part of that. And again, the book is called The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis, and we will be right back after this break. So stay tuned. Wow, frost.
No.
Wow.
I said I'm here for fall. I didn't say I'm here for frost.
No.
Well, welcome back to Off the Shelf. I want to welcome again our guests, Claire Decker and Allison Chakroff from SourcePoint. And we're talking this week about Falls Prevention Awareness Week. And as an aging klutz myself, this is a very important topic to me. So you hear about this all the time, but why are falls in older adults such a concern?
Yeah, I'll take that. And thank you again.
Should I take this one?
Nope, go ahead, Allison.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason they're a concern, we hear about them happening all the time, and they're actually a leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries in older adults. It's actually about 1 in 4 Americans that are 65 or older fall each year. So really significant, 25%. And the big thing about this is, falls don't have to happen. It's something that we can take control in our lives and empower ourselves and educate on improving our quality of life. And I also want to mention that, 1 in 5 of these falls actually result in a very serious injury. So it's very important to take some control in our lives and learn ways that we can feel more powerful in our bodies and take the next step to decrease these risk of falls.
Okay, so that's important, but how can we actually prevent falls? It seems like you don't want to say act of God, but nobody plans to fall. So how can you actually prevent them?
Yeah. Claire, do you want to take this?
I don't think Claire could hear her.
Okay, Claire, do you want to take this one? Yeah, sorry. We've got Allison's on the phone and Claire is on Skype, and I'm not sure they can hear each other.
Yeah,
so I'll try to ask a specific person who to answer. So Claire, you want to take this one?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, perfect. Just let me know so I don't talk over her. Okay. So how can we prevent falls? There's this kind of myth going around that kind of what you just said, George, that falls kind of just happen and it's going to happen. So what are you going to do? And the truth is that most falls are preventable and it's not a natural part of aging. So there are tons of things we can do. And the one thing I think that's most important to understand is when people think about falls, they think, oh, I'm unsteady on my feet, or I've been told that I need an assistive device, but I don't really want to use it. I know I shuffle when I walk. So we always are thinking about unsteady gait. And there are just so many other factors that go into fall risk for an individual. So, I mean, we're talking about anything from medication interactions to low blood pressure to environmental risk factors in the home, dehydration, malnutrition, not having up-to-date glasses, hearing loss. Tons of things can all kind of dump into this bucket where our risk is going up and up and up and up. And people don't think about how all these other factors really play. And it's very multifactorial. It's not just, oh, I'm a little unsteady on my feet these days. So lots of different things we can do.
So Claire, can you follow up on that then and say what would be a change that somebody could make in their home? Obviously, some of the things you said, like update your glasses prescription.
She's giving me a dirty look because I got my eyes examined a couple of weeks ago and still haven't picked up my new glasses.
But what are some other changes, Claire, that you could make in your home?
Yeah, that's a perfect kind of, there are lots of different examples, but one that I can give is lighting. We see a lot of poor lighting, especially like if we don't have lights at the top and the bottom of a set of stairs. That's a huge one. Running cords through the middle of a room. Like things that are loose, like throw rugs. There's special carpet tape we can use. Just tack that down to make sure even if your toe slips under there, it's not going to completely, rumple up the rug, upend you, and you're down.
Throw rugs are just plain evil. Mm-hmm. They really are. They're just
they look great, sure, but at what cost? Good to think about.
So, Allison, then would there be are there other things that you can use to strengthen yourself? Can you do fitness? What would be like an exercise or something like that might be good to help kind of build up your own personal strength?
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing about fitness is it is something that you can start at any age. I know a lot of people can be intimidated if they're older and they're like, well, I've never done any sports or any sort of workout programs, but there are some specific ones geared towards older adults, such as like Tai Chi. It's actually one of the most effective exercise programs in preventing falls. And it was originated in China, but it's still practiced today. Mm-hmm. The big thing with Tai Chi is it combines embracing the mind, body, and spirit. And so a lot of people actually have a lot of fun with it. It's not really what you think about as far as running and sweating and really being out of breath, but it's more being in tune with your body. But while you're doing this, it's actually strengthening those muscles, the legs, the core, the arms, everything that is so useful in holding your body up and just crucial to living a long, healthy life.
We used to have at the library a regular Tai Chi program twice, right? At our Orange and our main library. Right.
And I'm hoping that once this craziness is over, we can go back to doing it because that was a very popular program. Mm-hmm. We had Mark Butler, who was the instructor for that and did a wonderful job with it for us. So, we hope to get back to that. And I'm sure SourcePoint has offered things like that in the past as well, don't they, Claire?
We do. We have a Tai Chi program. We also offer an evidence-based program called A Matter of Balance, which is an 8-week structured group intervention that not only works to reduce the fear of falling, but it also offers solutions to increase activity levels, really increases self-efficacy in the prevention of falls. It's a fantastic program.
Very cool. Do you see that coming back anytime soon, or kind of putting it on hold until next year?
That one is tough because it's evidence-based. It really is meant, and that evidence base was built in studies that were in person.
Yeah.
So right now, it's not one that we're allowed to say is effective in the evidence base through Zoom or anything like that. So we haven't been able to move it virtual. I know they are working on that right now, though, at National. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to offer it virtually and in person again.
Yeah.
Allison, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but if you're worried about a parent, a grandparent, or somebody, what kinds of things can you do to help an older loved one try to get themselves in a position where this is less likely to happen to them?
Mm-hmm. I think the most important thing that a loved one can do is expressing that concern. I think a lot of people might be afraid of how their loved one will take it. It's like they might feel like they become defensive, but express that concern and really continue doing so. And you can enlist support too, especially it's great when you have an army behind you. If you have other family members around, express your concern to them, and they might be having that same concern. And showing that you care just means so much to a loved one and can really open the door to that conversation. And make sure you're checking in with their current health situation. Are they going to all their appointments? Have they had an eye appointment recently? Have they had their hearing checked? Notice if their gait is starting to change. And just really, I'm really big on writing things down. So if you're noticing something, write it down. And that way, when you're bringing everything to the attention of this loved one that you're worried about, make sure you have those key points. And another thing to talk about is their medications as well. A lot of medications have a lot of very adverse effects, unfortunately. So it's important for them to talk with their doctor and also their pharmacist as well. And then something that SourcePoint can help with is doing a walkthrough safety assessment of their home. That is something that SourcePoint is able to offer. Right now, due to COVID, it is currently paused. But, as soon as we are able to, we want to get that back up and running. And the goal behind that, and I really want to preface this hard, is that we're not trying to kick them out of their homes. We want them to be safe in their homes.
Right.
So kind of how Claire was saying, and making sure the home is suitable for them, because we want them to live as long and as happy in their home as possible.
That seems like a great way to wrap this up. Allison, Claire, we really appreciate your time today. And I'm sure people can get more information on the SourcePoint website. I know that's a great source of information. We also have plenty of things on exercise videos, things like that, through the library that you can get. And we support and work together to try to make things as livable as we possibly can in this day and age. So thank you very much again, Claire Decker and Allison Chakroff from SourcePoint. And we really appreciate your time today.
Yep. And celebrate Falls Prevention Awareness Week next week, the 21st through the 25th.
Right. And so we are just about out of time here, but I wanted to thank you, Gage, for your great work on the board again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nicole.
Pew-pew.
Thank you to our friends of the library. And again, we'll be hearing more about the program with Fiona Davis in 2 weeks. Next week, Molly Myers-Labady will be in the microphone closer to the outside wall, as I'm going to be on vacation next week. So,
yay!
Yay!
You're just a little
I'm not
too
saying yay.
excited,
No.
Gage.
I'm saying yay as in you're on vacation. I like that.
We all know Molly is a very good co-host, but all right. Well, anyway, we will see you in the stacks.